You'll find a Mets fan. Let's go. Let's go. Mets. This is a Mets year. For all your Mets here, let's go. Let's go. Mets. Bring it home. Bring it home. Bring it home now. Let's
exciting, thrilling, awesome. Let's take a look.
What's up, Met fans? Welcome back to Talking Mets with Rob and another Mets Hot Stove Live right here on the channel. And of course, with the special guest, Hayden. Mets Talk with Hayden. Hayden, how you doing, buddy? Welcome back to the show, buddy. How you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm doing all right. Obviously, catchers and pitchers report in 9 days, and we're in February, the month of spring training. Baseball is almost here. Super Bowl is almost in the books, so that means baseball season's on hands. And I'll tell you, this offseason flew by. Maybe it's because, it really never ended for us because you and I are always, doing content and talking Mets, but really felt like it flew by. So, yeah, super excited about that. Otherwise, I'm doing good. And, I appreciate you having me on. Obviously, all is doing well. Obviously, I know we were talked on here probably about a month ago, so it's good, recatch on, a lot of great things have happened with the Mets since, so plenty to talk about.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, so as everybody knows, Hayden's already in Florida enjoying a college life, and he lives in Florida, so that's something that is probably a dream for most people, and probably me as well. So it's pretty good to be out there. But I will be meeting up with Hayden in a couple of weeks for spring training with the 7 line. So we're going to have a lot of content going on while we're there in Florida. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And, you guys know Hayden. If you don't subscribe to his channel, subscribe to him. He got some good content there. He knows what he's talking about. And of course, I don't have people on my channel that I don't think brings anything to the table. And I know Hayden does. So I trust him bringing on his knowledge with the Mets and everything else, baseball for that matter. I'm the non-analytical guy. This guy is the analytical guy and knows his stats from head to toe. So that is something that is always appreciative anytime we talk about the Mets or baseball in general. He will give you a stat that I would be like, what the hell is that? But he knows his stuff with that stuff. So it always works out. So I don't know if you saw the exactly. I don't know if you saw the Steve Cohen quotes that popped up from ESPN. That's been like the rave reviews. All right. So he completely like destroyed the owners in Major League Baseball. That actually I'll pull them up right now. Let's give me a second. I'm make sure see if you can see it on the screen. Yeah, so it looks like this. So he said that I've heard what everyone else has heard, that they're not happy with me. I hear things from people who are maybe more neutral, that they're taking a lot of heat from their fans. I kind of look at that like you're looking at the wrong person. They're putting it on me. Maybe they need to look more at themselves. I'm not responsible for other teams running their clubs. I'm really not. That's not my job. And there are disparities in baseball. We all know that to be true. I'm following the rules. They set the rules down. I'm following them. That was from our owner, Steve Cohen. And he had a couple of other quotes in there, saying that he promised Met fans to do everything he can financially to make this team better. And he lived up to that promise. Again, everybody's probably not happy with certain things in the offseason. The Correa situation was a disaster, but it's not like he didn't try. And it always feels like Cohen is always going to do the best he can within his means to make this team better. So what I have the question to you is, do you like those comments? And what do you think about Steve Cohen so far, even though the Mets spent a lot of money, but basically they got a very similar team than last year, minus different pitchers in the rotation and different pitchers in the bullpen. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, right now with the quota, like I said, this is all news to me. I've had one of the most busiest days of the year today. But I mean, overall, listen, when it comes down to it, I think, as a Mets fan, it's mind-boggling to say that we have an owner that all other fan bases and all other owners and teams and organizations are going after for spending and just spending and spending. And, as Mets fans dealing, with the Wilpon Cats family for decades, it's something that is very unusual for Mets fans now. But when it comes down to it, listen, Steve Cohen is a guy who, likes to talk, likes to tweet a lot, and I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I think there is a time and a place, obviously, and I think it comes to the point with Cohen where it's kind of hard. I mean, there's a 50% of me chance that says just, let the team show it this year. If this team is willing to win and you're willing to spend all this money on a ball club that's going to win 100 games, but then go kaplunks in the playoffs, well, then the big talk doesn't mean much. But, right now, when it comes to it, there's a lot of other organizations in baseball that spend, as Ken is saying, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Astros. When I see teams like the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have guys, Bob Nutting, and the Oakland Athletics, something Fisher, they're the ones that should be getting help from their fans. Yeah. And I
agree.
Those organizations that are going after the Mets, the Yankees, your Cohens and Steinbrenners of the world. And it's unfortunate. I mean, I've been a proponent of having a salary floor. I mean, there should be a minimum that teams spend, and if they don't, they get penalized. Yeah. Not every team is going to be like the Tampa Bay Rays and, constantly just, and even if, I mean, the Rays many times throughout their, young professional seasons in the MLB, they were exactly like the A's, where they were finishing last in that AL East. People are saying, Moneyball, they're always relevant. That's not the case. I mean, there's been plenty of years where the Tampa Bay Rays who don't spend or just not doing anything. So yeah, when it comes to it, I mean, it's an interesting comment from Cohen. What did he put it on? He put it on Twitter?
Oh no, he actually did an interview with ESPN, and they asked him all these questions. And yeah, it was I think Jeff Passan was the one that tweeted the article out. But I found it on Instagram that somebody just posted it, and then I just checked where the article was. It was on ESPN. So I mean, it was a lot of quotes in there that he put besides the one I just showed you.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, from what it seems, from I guess kind of what I dissected from that quote, it seems that owners are getting annoyed and kind of taking a jab at Cohen for spending, and it comes to the point where they're just jealous. Listen, I mean, it's not like it comes to the point where Cohen is signing every single top 10 free agent in the market and spending, billions and billions and $billion. We're not getting to that point, of course.
Yeah.
But right now, are all these other owners to talk? Or are they just necessarily jealous? Are they feeling, the pressure from their fan base? I don't know. Overall, I don't really have an issue with Cohen's comment. I think good for him. I think it comes to the point where, like I said, we see owners like the Reds, like the Pirates, like the A's, who are just these poorly ran, corrupted teams that just don't spend, take the money in their pockets, and don't put anything on the field. When you see Pittsburgh, they're passionate sports fans.
Yep.
And other teams as well. But sell the team. That's what I said.
Yeah,
I said it so many times during last year's offseason and lockout. If you're a team, if you're an owner, and you don't want to spend the money, sell the team. I get Cohen's in a different situation. He has the money and he has a side gig as a hedge fund, so he doesn't need the money from this. He has, was that 14 billion from his hedge fund already? I think he gained like 2.4 billion or something. Since
basically what he paid for the Mets.
Yeah, literally. So I mean, it comes to the point where if you're an owner, you're not going to spend, sell the team. It's just there's no point.
I agree. It's like what I don't understand. Prior to Cohen, it's not like other owners. Like, how many years in a row did the Dodgers have the biggest payroll? I mean, look what the Padres are doing. It seems like they get every free agent. They're trading for everybody, and look, I even brought up the Phillies. The Phillies in what 3-year span, they got Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos, and Zach Wheeler, and they just got Trey Turner. Why hasn't nobody talked about them? You know why? Because it wasn't as much as the Mets spent, but people don't realize that the Mets had 8 key free agents this year. And how are you going to replace those free agents if you either retain them or you get new players to replace them? And at that point, it's like, you can't make 13 trades to replace those guys. You have to spend money. So I even brought the question that people in the comments, when I put the video up today regarding the quotes, people are like, well, the Mets were spending too much money, because he's a New York owner and he's spending all this money. And I said it this way: if the Mets would have brought back every single player that was a free agent on their team, the DeGroms, the Bassetts, the Walkers of the world, and them Nimmo and everybody else, it would have still amount to almost the same amount of money that he already spent. It's just different names. That's about it. It's not that much of a difference. And what I don't understand, and what pisses me off, is that people are getting on Met fans like we haven't suffered with cheap owners. We literally went to the World Series in 2015, and the only signing the Mets made was to retain Yoenis Cespedes. They didn't do nothing else to make that team better. When they had every opportunity, did what the Royals did from 2014 to 2015, where they just needed a little bit more. They got that a little bit more pitching they needed, and it took them to a World Series championship. The Mets retained Yoenis Cespedes and didn't do nothing else to make that team better to go on another World Series run. We fell apart after that. So we know better than anybody that a cheap owner can make a team and make a fan base just become negative every step of the way. And you brought up Pittsburgh, and I'm glad you did, because I brought this up many times during my streams, and I think I told you this before. When I went to Pittsburgh in 2021, the way the Pittsburgh fans that, I was in bars, I was in lounges, wherever I was, and I was like, you guys don't go to games. Why don't you go to games? You talked about the owner. They don't trust the owner. They say he's a cheap owner. They say that he doesn't put no money into the baseball team. Like, you see Pittsburgh, look at the Penguins, look at the Steelers. They sell out all the games. They're passionate. They're great fans. If the owner is not showing any push to make the team better, why would you go there? What for the view? Like, that's it. Like, who's going to do that every single day? Who's going to buy season tickets just to go see a view that you're going to see every time you go to the game? I mean, that's nice to take a picture and all, but other than that, you're there to root on a team, to have your passion for that team. I can guarantee you, Cabrian Hayes, O'Neal Cruz, those guys are going to be traded in 4 or 5 years because they're not going to retain them. That's just the way it is with McCutchen, the same thing. All the other players that they traded or didn't sign. That is the biggest problem that is going around baseball. And it seems like everybody gets mad at the owners that spend money, but the owners that never spend money, nobody talks about. And, I know you talked about the salary, the floor, the salary floor. and the reason why they're not doing that because then the smaller owners would want a salary cap, a max, and I don't think the players are gonna allow that, and I don't think the owners. Oh shit! What the hell did I do? Sorry, I just put on my music for some second. Sorry about that. And and that's the biggest problem that we're having right now. And unfortunately, that's something that we're gonna have to continue to deal with because the next CBA, they're gonna start talking about that again with Steve Cohen. But you know what? He's right, 100%. The owners need to worry about their team and stop worrying about other teams. And when it comes down to it, who cares? Like, spending all this money doesn't guarantee you a championship, just like every other team. So it's just a matter of spending the money smartly. And if the Mets win the World Series, people will say we bought a championship. But the only player we really did buy was Verlander because we retained Nimmo. We brought in Senga for $15 million. And we brought in Quintana, and Navarez. We didn't bring big.
The three biggest offensive contributors are homegrown, not named Lindor. McNeil, drafted by the Mets. Alonso, drafted by the Mets.
Correct.
Nimmo, drafted by the Mets. Okay, you got Lindor, sure. Otherwise, I mean, the big three that everyone loves, at least in my opinion, are all homegrown. So that's what I understand when people are like, Mets are buying.
Yeah.
Talk about a team that's buying. Look at the Padres. Look at the Phillies. Name me one player on that Philadelphia Phillies lineup that's homegrown. Reese Hoskins. Oh, wow. Alec Bohm.
Stop.
Oh, wow.
That just got to the majors last year.
How about the Padres? Tatis doesn't count because he was drafted by the White Sox.
White Sox, yep.
It was Will Myers. No, I think Will Myers was Tampa, I want to say. So, exactly. So, in my opinion, I think the Mets are one of the most talented teams with the homegrown guys.
Yeah.
Look at the Yankees. I mean, you have Judge and
Torres was a trade. Sanchez is the twin now.
Yeah.
Frazier was a trade before he got traded.
Yeah, I mean, the Mets are.
I think there's just
teams.
been a Mets move.
I mean, the
Mets
Dodgers.
I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, I mean the Dodgers also. I mean, they have Frank Freeman and maybe that. So the Mets are one of the best teams that are contending with, three homegrown guys. And I mean, guys like Alonso and McNeil, pre-arbitration guys. Still, I mean, McNeil has an extension, but still, which I was absolutely thrilled with that, by the way, I will say. But young guys for the playoffs, and obviously Nimmo too. So, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, exactly. So the Mets designated Khalil Lee for assignment. As you know, he went under investigation because he beat his wife or did something to his wife or girlfriend or whatever it was. So he's in that whole mix of players that never really made it and still was a prospect in the Mets system. And now he's designated for assignment, and the Mets claimed right-handed pitcher Sam Coonrod off waivers from the Phillies.
Oh,
so
Lord.
yeah, that's a name.
Well, Coonrad will probably get sayonara soon, and they'll call someone else up. I mean that doesn't. Khalil Lee, I mean, he's an idiot for what he did, but regardless of that, I don't really have any high expectations. I want to say we got him in the Kansas City three-way trade, right?
Yeah,
Benintendi from Boston to Kansas City. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I wasn't really no high expectations with him.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not much of a thing. The only thing is, outfield depth would have been interesting to see since he was a Mets top 10 prospect, which was interesting. But again, you can't keep a guy on the team that's like that. But then again, the Mets did bring back Jose Reyes, so as long as you got talent, if you're good enough, you're going to be on a team, just like football, basketball, hockey, baseball. So it doesn't really matter with that. So I wanted to ask you one thing about the lineup, which is, do you like the lineup? Because, I mean, if you liked it last year, it's basically the same thing except for Omar Narvaez, that's going to be the starting catcher over James McCann. Do you like the lineup? Do you feel like it's enough? Or do you feel like this team's going to have problems? Maybe not during the season, but what we saw at the end of the year, minus the injuries, and of course the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, right now this is a very intriguing lineup. You brought up the point. It's a very pretty much identical lineup in terms of last year. Obviously the only new guys are at the catcher spot, which we'll get into that in a couple seconds. But I get it. I could sit here and say, oh, well, this is the lineup that won you 101 games, yada yada yada. But don't get me wrong. This lineup will certainly have slumps, like any team in baseball, like any player will. I do think this Mets lineup has a good group of hitters. Obviously, you have guys like Nimmo and Marte who are great table setters, offer some great speed, good contact guys. I mean, you have Jeff McNeil. I mean, one of the best hitters in the game. He makes contact with the ball and gets on base somehow. Then you have a couple other guys, Escobar, who's, really trying to hope to, carry on what he did in September. It's the last year in his 2-year contract. Can Escobar, kind of find a thing, looking at Escobar, if we're in June and third, and the two concerns that I have with this lineup are third base and catcher. And then those are the two positions. There's some other factors, but I'll mention that in a second. It's third base. And I'm doing a video on it soon, so keep an eye out for that. Is, how are the Mets going to address the third base spot? Whether it's the position defensively or in the lineup. Do the Mets trust Escobar? If we're coming June and Escobar is batting, 200 with 7 home runs, can't have that.
No.
Or are they going to be interested in giving up Beatty the call? If Beatty's in AAA, which is seeming probably how it's going to go, and he's raking, you bet I'm calling him up. Yep. Possibly, I don't really see a world where Vientos plays third. Maybe if it really comes down to it, or Guillorme. But yeah, third base, I really do worry with Escobar, and I really do worry with him. And then the catcher position. Right now, you got Omar Narvaez. I guess he's a little bit better than James McCann offensively, but really not by much. So, I get it. Narvaez is this kind of short-term placeholder until Francisco Alvarez comes. I don't think Francisco Alvarez will be, on the opening day roster. I think maybe he'll probably start off and maybe get called up May or June, seeing how things go. But catcher spot, third base, I really do worry with that lineup. The DH is interesting. Obviously they're still going in with, Vogelbach, Ruff, and it didn't really work for them last season.
Yeah.
And Pham, and obviously Pham is probably going to have more play than Darren Ruff. If it seems, hopefully Ruff can have a bounce back. He had a phenomenal 2021 season in San Francisco, so fans are hoping that was just a little slump. But Vogelbach, he lost some weight. Okay, maybe that'll help his performance a little bit, but. The DH spot, I do also worry. So, you have some worries. I do worry about the lack of power. I get it. You have guys like Alonso who are great for your power. But listen, if guys like Vogelbach could come in and start smashing and give me 25 home runs, and Escobar could be this number 5 hitter that everyone planned to see who could give you 20, 25 home runs, then I'm not worried about the power. It's just right now, you don't have much power outside of Alonso. And, maybe Lindor can give you a couple, good, maybe 2 dozen just about. So, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I really do like now one little adjustment I wouldn't be against making, and I know Marte's not fully healthy. I don't know if he'll be fine for opening day, but it'd be interesting to see a world where Marte bats leadoff and Nimmo bats second. I know we discussed that a lot last season.
We did. I wanted that.
We'll see Nimmo's approach. Last season he was chasing a lot more. His strikeouts went up, and he wasn't walking as much. Nimmo doesn't steal also. It's not like he gets on and he steals. It's just there's so many factors. It's just the injury, being prone to injury, so he just doesn't steal. He has the speed. He just doesn't steal. Yep. Would you want to bat Marte first? He gets on, he steals, and then Nimmo drives him in. Those are a lot of questions we're going to see during opening day. There's going to be spring training. All of this lineup stuff is going to be questioned during spring training. But to answer the question, I have trust in this lineup to at least carry you to the deadline. And if coming the deadline, there's a big concern with, the DH or third base or lack of power or whatever, then you address it. And you're not going to have this, Naquin, Ruff shenanigans. You're actually going to go out and get a good hitter. I'm not saying you're going to go out and get Ohtani or, whoever, but you're going to go out and get an actual hitter that is, known and confident in. So, yeah, we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Overall, I have probably 7 out of 10% trust in this lineup right now to carry me through the season.
Yeah, I mean that whole rant you just made about the lineup and what you like and dislike is exactly what we started saying last offseason. I guarantee you can find a stream that me and you did that was probably the same concerns that we had last offseason, but we were so confident that they were going to get a bat at the deadline last year in the offseason. Said, okay, we'll just have to survive until the deadline, and then we got Vogel back in rough, and it was like, oh shit, here we go. So, and it didn't really work out. And then on top of that, and I agree with you 100%. Like I said it from the beginning, once we got Marte, I wanted Marte to be a leadoff hitter. Like Nimmo's a good leadoff hitter, but the stealing concerns me, especially with the new rules that are coming in that you can't throw over more than 3 times. Also, you can't, the bigger bases. There's a lot more room now for runners to steal bases that who might not be confident in stealing bases might get that confidence. And I don't know why Nimmo doesn't steal. I don't know if it was because he was worried about injury or he just never had a good read on the pitcher is the reason why he doesn't steal. Because like you said, he has the speed to do so. And I would put Marte in the leadoff spot. Obviously health is a concern for the most part, but let's be honest, Marte was one of our better hitters even when he was injured. And I think he's a guy that can steal 20 bases for you. And, with Nimmo, his walk rate, his taking pitches, it gives the opportunity for Marte to steal bases. And I do like Marte leading off. I don't think Buck's going to do that. I think he's going to keep the same 1, 2, 3, 4 that we seen last year, which, let's be honest, was pretty damn good. But I still think we need a little bit more speed at the top where we can use our speed to our advantage because, like you said, we're not a big power team. We're not a big power team. And not being a big power team, you have to manufacture runs. You have to produce runs in different ways. Small ball, bunting guys over, going first to third, stealing more bases. If the problem with the Mets, even though they were scoring 4.75 runs a game, and then until September, and then it went down a full run. The biggest problem was when they struggled, when they couldn't get those back-to-back hits or 3 hits in a row, and it was struggling within the lineup, they weren't scoring runs if they didn't hit home runs, and they weren't hitting them a lot. Now is going to be the same thing. If they can steal a little bit more bases or use the speed to their advantage, power is not going to be so much of an issue. And that's why 7 out of 10 is a pretty good rating. I was gonna go 8, but 7's pretty good. The only reason why I'm going with 8 is because of the fact that I think Escobar is gonna have a better year than he had last year because he was bad for almost 5 months out of the year, 4 months, 4.5 months out of the year, and he still hit 20 home runs. If he's a little bit better at the beginning of the year, he can easily hit 25 home runs. That's power that we would not see otherwise. Like we didn't see last year. And I was saying it the other day on my stream that the Mets lost out on about 40 to 45 home runs, maybe 40 to 50 home runs with DH, third base, and catcher. The home runs that they were expecting from the DH spot with Dom and JD, with James McCann, even if he would have gave 10 to 15 home runs.
Anyone miss JD Davis?
Yeah. That could be about 30 home runs to 40 home runs with third base, catcher, and DH that we lost. 10 home runs. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like there's about 40 to 45 home runs that we lost from this lineup that we were expecting to get on average. And that's only if Smith and Davis hit 10 home runs and McCann hit 10 home runs and Escobar hit 5 or 6 more home runs. That's almost 40 home runs right there. That could have mean the difference of 1 or 2 games during the year where we wouldn't have to worry about the last series of the year against Atlanta to win the division. And we might have won 103 games and it wouldn't have mattered. So in my opinion, I'm going to give it an 8 because I think they're going to focus more on stolen bases. And I do think that we're going to get a little bit more power because I think Narvaez has a little bit more power than James McCann. So we'll see a little bit more power. And I think the speed is going to be a real factor in stolen bases this season, considering the fact that, and I haven't heard anybody talk about that yet, but I want to see when when pitchers and catchers report and position player reports and the media starts talking to these players, I want to see somebody ask Nimmo, hey, you're going to work on stealing bases this year with the new rules. Because if he's like, I don't know, well, that concerns me because you just gave this guy an 8-year deal. I want to see him run all over the freaking place.
And, I completely forgot that you have the rules of, so correct me, it's bigger bases and that the pitcher could only
I think they can't throw over more than 3 times per at bat.
There's a limit. So that means, Nimmo is going to have to start. I mean, I get it. The injury concern is not the injury concern, but he's very injury prone. So it's like if he steals and slides and he has some neck issues and he screws up his neck, it's like, oh, well, maybe. So I don't know.
That 8 years don't look so good after all.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be against Nimmo starting to steal more. I mean, he really is a fast runner. I mean, we see him in the outfield jumping against the wall and rolling around in the dirt. So he doesn't get hurt doing that. So why can't he steal? I mean, there's only, listen, it's not like he's stealing there's only so many catchers out there in the league who are, pin pitch perfect with throwing out runners at second or third or whatever other base they're trying to steal to. So I really would like to see Nimmo steal more. I mean, last year, the stealing bases was very limited. It was much more from, the last, the prior season of 2021. Lindor went a lot more. Heck, Alonso stole 5 bases. Like, what? I mean, Lindor is capable of stealing. Nimmo is capable. Marte is more than capable. McNeil has some speed. This lineup needs to go more fundamental baseball, steal more. And that's what they did last year. They got a lot of runs on sac flies, fundamental baseball, advance the runner, sacrifice RBIs. That's what they need to do. Offensively, this team slumped, in September. And luckily, guys like Escobar and, were able to, pick up, the ranks and carry the team. But, you're going to need to rely on a lot of things throughout this season. Stealing bases could be one of them. Look at teams like the Padres or the Dodgers. They're stealing left and right. And, look at the Phillies. They just got Trey Turner. I mean, how much that's going to benefit them for, the Phillies we saw in the World Series. They're a home run or nothing lineup. Adding Turner to that completely changes that.
Exactly. That's why I gave a lot of credit to the Phillies because if you look at they were just like the Yankees when it came to home runs. They hit a ton of solo home runs. They couldn't get on base. Turner's going to change that. And that's why it's a huge pickup for them. But I was also, the Mets scored 4.75 runs per game last year. And that was without being in the top 10 in home runs in Major League Baseball. Like that's amazing that they had that many runs per game when they were not even in the top 10 in home runs last year. And that's something that's, that can change by just a little bit more stolen bases and a little bit more power from the lineup can change everything with this team. And I do think that you're going to see a lot of, I think Buck Showalter understands that they need to do different things than teams like the Phillies, the Yankees, guys that, lineups that, is either home run or bust. And that's something that, the Mets are one of the lowest rates of strikeouts per game as well. And, the big reason why we played very well during the season was because the Phillies and the Braves struck out a ton. Even though the Braves were really good for the majority of the year, they struck out a ton. And if they didn't hit a home run, they lost, both teams. And the Mets, I think, could win in a lot of ways if they get a little bit more power. And, it's funny because I was talking the other day about the Phillies lineup. People are like, oh, the Phillies lineup is better. The Braves lineup is better. Yeah, that's true. But also the Phillies did win, 87 games last year? Like they, is Turner, wins above replacement. Is he going to provide 14 more wins? No. What is he going to provide? Maybe 5 or 6 more wins? And, I don't think it's going to be a tremendous amount of difference in games. Plus we don't play each other a lot this year with the balanced schedule, only 13 times instead of 19. So, you can see 3 teams in the NL East that win 95 plus games. It's a big possibility now, considering you're not playing these guys as much anymore. So, it's kind of, you're going to see right away early on if the Mets are going to start stealing bases because we start the first 7 games on the road in Miami and Milwaukee, just like the Braves and the Phillies, who have 6 games on the road to start the season. So there is no disadvantage there with the Mets because of the fact that all 3 NL East contenders are on the road for the first week of the season. So it's going to be fun for sure. And you know what? Somebody's got to come out of that really well. I hope the Mets go like 5-2. You know, obviously you want to go 7-0, but you know, let's not go crazy now. Because if we go 7-0, we're gonna start screaming World Series, you know. So I do think that the Mets the lineup could be very good and could be even more better if they steal more bases and provide that a little bit more power that I think we were expecting last year that we didn't get from a couple of positions. So yeah, you know, we'll see. And there's a lot to be determined because we really don't know who is going to be the third base. You know, is Escobar going to get the nod at third base? What happened if Beatty has a great spring training and Escobar struggles? Are the Mets going to put Escobar at DH and then put Beatty at third base? I wouldn't mind that. They were going to put Escobar at DH when they were going to get signed Correa. So I wouldn't mind that. I would, what's the point of keeping these prospects? If you're not going to trade them, play them. That's the way I see it, especially if they play well in spring training. So we'll see. I'm hoping that this lineup, listen, if the Mets lineup scores 4.75 runs a game, the Mets have a really good chance of winning another 100 games again, I think. So I think we'll see what happens. And you know what? We're a week away and, a little bit more than a week away until we, see everybody come in. And then we're 3 weeks away, and what is it, 2.5 weeks? About 3 weeks away until I head down to spring training with you. And, it'll be a baseball frenzy for sure. So bullpen discussion. This has been a topic for about 2 months now. The Mets bullpen has gotten better from 2022, but I think everybody can agree that we need one more lefty. And Burton and Chafin has been the names that we've been hearing. And there was a recent report that Britton and the Mets talks have broken down for whatever reason. So, somebody said Matt Moore, who was pretty good last year for Texas. If you had to choose, which one would you want? I mean, I would want Chafin, but what do you think you would want for one of the lefties, another lefty in that bullpen?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I'm surprised Andrew Chafin has yet to be signed. Is Michael Fulmer also a free agent as well?
Yeah, I haven't heard him sign either. Yeah,
I mean, I know he's a righty, I believe, right? But still, he's an arm. 30 years old, that's prime age. Yeah, right now, this Mets bullpen. I mean, the bullpen, in my opinion, was really not an issue last season.
No.
I mean, there were a decent amount of guys you necessarily didn't really trust in that bullpen. Like I said, I mean, you had your guys like Michael Givens and, whoever that were just really garbage. I mean, keep in mind, this Mets team did make some bullpen moves. Jeff Brigham, I believe. David Robertson was a nice one. So you're probably also going to have Tyler McGill and or David Peterson both in that bullpen. So, I mean,
possibility.
Right now, it's a little bit more loaded. Will Edwin Diaz be this dominant reliever like he was last year? We know how kind of streaky and, some sort relievers could be. We'll see. But right now, I really do have confidence in this Mets bullpen. I mean, in my opinion, I think the Mets bullpen has gotten better than really last year. I mean, like I said, you lost Seth Lugo, whatever, but the Mets have been able to retain a nice bullpen, whether that's with Adam Ottavino re-signing, Edwin Diaz re-signing, the David Robertson move, huge. Brooks Riley, however you say his name, huge. 7, 8, 9 of Raley, Robertson, Diaz, or maybe include Ottavino in that 7 or 8 mix. It's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
It really is.
Exactly. I'm sorry.
Like I said, I mean, you have the luxury of having McGill and Peterson, and also Lucchesi. I forgot Joey Lucchesi. He's coming back from Tommy John surgery, so we're gonna have to see how he goes. I know someone's saying in the comment section they are going to be starting in AAA, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if one of the two of them spends most of their season in AAA. I get it because they only have so many options, and some sort because of the CBA, so that I wouldn't be surprised by that. But Lucchesi is another guy who a lot of Mets fans are kind of forgetting on it. Again, he's coming back from Tommy John. You got to be cognizant. You can't rush him out there. But he is a lefty, so the Mets found a remedy to fix a lefty shortage. They really have. I know this was the time where the Mets only really lefty that they had was Dolly Rodriguez. Well, that's no longer the case. You fix that. Lucchesi has a Williams role. Yeah, that could be the case. I mean, you could also make that case for Peterson and McGill. Trevor Williams was kind of a blow to lose, but it's not. You have many other guys who are more than happy to take over the long reliever role.
Yeah, I agree, and it is crazy that Chafin hasn't been targeted by anybody. It's weird. I don't know what people are waiting for. I don't know if he's asking for too much or too many years. But I mean, if the Mets are not going to get him because he wants a 2-year deal, that's crazy to me because he's one of the better lefties in baseball in the bullpen. And I mean, I think this bullpen will be elite if you get Chafin. And like you said, the Mets bullpen wasn't bad last year. Early on in April, early May, they struggled a little bit. And they lost us a few games, but they definitely were really good. And people forget about that. The bullpen didn't lose us a lot of games. I mean, in September, we had struggles with the bullpen a little bit, but not as much as the offense struggled and the pitching struggled for the starting pitching struggle. So I'm hoping the Mets get Chafin. I think, at some point he's going to take probably a little bit of a bargain deal since it's getting very close to spring training. And you don't want to get a reliever you're already 3 weeks into spring training and now he's 3 weeks behind because that's a recipe for injuries and he might not be ready to go and might not be warmed up enough or thrown enough pitches and innings to be ready for the season. And you don't need a guy like that you're counting on to be injured. But I think this Met bullpen 100% is going to be a lot better and it's going to protect this rotation as well, who you got to watch the innings early on with Senga, who's never pitched 140 innings in his career. And of course, you got two older guys in Scherzer and Verlander that you do not want to make them throw a lot of innings early on because you're going to need them for a deep run in the dog days of summer into the playoffs. But we'll see what happens. I'm assuming the Mets are going to get one of those guys unless they're very confident that David Peterson or Lucchesi is going to be the lefty in the bullpen with Raley. I think that's what they're probably going to decide. So, your boy, you got the poster behind you, Pete Alonso extension. I do know that is your favorite player. That's your boy. So I'm gonna make you start with that. I know about 2 weeks ago I did an extension video for Pete Alonso. What do you think can be a reasonable, fair offer for the Mets to extend Pete Alonso? I think I said 8 for $275 or something, or 9 for $275. That's like $30 million a year. I think he's going to get $30 million a year. It's just a matter of how many years they're willing to give him, because I don't think money's the issue. I think it's the years. It's fair. You're going to take a team-friendly deal because you're going to buy out some arbitration years. But what do you think is fair for the team and for Alonso?
Yeah, I mean, right now you look at Pete Alonso. I mean, homegrown guy, one of the few Mets players in the franchise who automatically was a rookie and just thrived. I mean, rookie of the year, broke the home run record, all-star, home run derby champion. And then, carrying on, is being successful in 2021, 2022. He's an all-star, 2-time all-star, rookie of the year, just home runs. He's 28 years old, so I believe he just turned 28, so forgive me on that. You've been seeing it around the league recently. I mean, we saw Freddie Freeman, who is, I don't really want to compare the two, but I just will because they're first basemen, and it's 33. Obviously, he just, what was his deal with the Dodgers contract? I saw there was 106 years, 162 million. I mean, he's also a little bit older, so definitely take that with a grain of salt. But when it comes down to that, I wouldn't be surprised. Alonso's going to take the hometown discount, no doubt. $30 million a year.
But how much?
Yeah, I mean, $30 million a year AAV. I could see that. I could also see something like a $25 million. I think
the Mets would do that in a heartbeat.
8-9 years is definitely good. I think that's a fair in terms of years. I would have no issue with 8 years. I think 8 honestly is perfect. I wouldn't go 7. I wouldn't go 9. I think 8 is fine.
Yeah.
I think we could probably see 25. I mean, if you want to keep it in uneven, you maybe go 27. 25, I think is really fair. Times 8, so yeah, that's 200.
200. Yeah.
30 million you could see. I just 36, 30. He's going into last year's contract. You're gonna want to give someone that much. I mean, is he going to be this elite player? And in his 8th year, 9th year, whatever.
Yeah. And the
no doubt in
DH
my
is important
mind.
as well.
No, and I got it. You do have the DH role for him. But he's young. I mean, he has plenty of more
Yeah.
time and plenty of more years at first base. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see this something around. Yeah, I really wouldn't be surprised if you see like 8 years, 200, like 8 years, like 215, 220, 230. Really, anywhere from a ballpark of 8 years to 200 to 230. I really do think is a fair deal for Alonso. And I mean, right now you see the Mets are extending their guys. I mean, you have Nimmo for the next 8. You have McNeil for the next 4. Probably be a Met for life. Maybe, he does have the possibility for that 5th year, extra year. So that can kind of put McNeil up, wrapped away for the rest of his career. And next is Alonso. It's just point simple.
Yeah.
Next is Alonso. Alonso is going to be the, the bigger deal compared to Nimmo and compared to McNeil. So yeah, obviously, I don't think the Mets have any intentions on letting Alonso walk to free agency. We know after 2024, he is a free agent. So 2024 into 2025, that offseason, he hits the free agent market. And I don't think the Mets have any intentions or really any interest in wanting him to even test the market. I mean, I would have a heart attack. I don't know how I would be able to do anything. I wouldn't go to school. I would just drop out of college for that 4 months. I would lose it of a heart attack. And yeah, Pete is literally the face of the Mets. I agree with you, Ken. He is the face of the franchise. I mean, he was drafted by the Mets. You could say Lindor, you could say Nimmo, yeah, sure. But how many guys do you know who first game just had success ever and then just continued? So yeah, but back to what I was saying. Yeah, I think in 8 years, 200, 230 could be a good general ballpark range. For Alonso, I really do. I think that's a fair general deal. If it's this offseason, okay. He has 2 years left of arbitration, so I don't really think the Mets care about the 2 years. They'll give him the money now. He deserves it anyways.
Yeah.
And if you get to a playoffs, if you win a World Series, who cares? I wouldn't be surprised if he got it this offseason or next offseason. However, I would kind of like it to be this offseason. Just get it over with. Eat out the 2 years of pre-arbitration. Yeah, just continue.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like I said, I don't think the Mets are going to let him go, let him get to free agency. But it would be very interesting, though, considering the fact that he would be a free agent the same year Juan Soto's a free agent. So that would be very interesting as well. So, but I don't think that's going to come to that. Like I said, I think it's going to be somewhere AAV wise, 25 to 30 million, somewhere in that range. I don't think they're going to go lower than 7, and I don't think they're going to go higher than 9. So anywhere between 7, 8, and 9, between 25 and 30 million dollars, I think is more than fair since you're buying out arbitration years. And it's 13 million more around that he's making now from arbitration. So I think that's a nice bump and raise, and I think he would take that. He wants to be here. So
absolutely,
I think that's a good idea. But somebody brought up a comment. I think he talked about Jeff Brigham. Also John Curtis, the Mets got early in the offseason as well. That is other 2 options that I totally forgot about Curtis as well. But Jeff Brigham, I remember because is that the guy that we got from the where the hell did we get Brigham from?
Marlins.
Was it a trade?
Marlins.
The Marlins. Okay, yeah.
It may have been a trade. I think so.
And didn't we get somebody from the Yankees had a DFA because of the whole Rule 5 thing? It's that big kid that was throwing gas that came up with the Yankees. I forgot his name. I don't know if somebody's going to say it in the comments. About. We got him early on in the offseason, right before the Rule 5 draft. Forgot who it was. But damn, I'm trying to remember who the hell it was.
It was like the same week of the Brigham move.
Yeah. Oh God, I don't know who it was, but whatever. But the point is, they might be looking at him too. Steven Tidens, that was his name. Thank you. So that was the kid. That was the kid that he looked good when he came up with the Yankees for a couple of times. So that is something that Steven Rydens. That's right. You're right. Steven Rydens. Okay, yeah. So that's the guy that with him and Brigham and Curtis, and Elijah Hernandez that we also got from the Marlins as well in that trade. That is something that the Mets have a ton of options for their bullpen, and maybe they just don't want to give 2 years to Chafin and don't trust Britton, and they don't think Matt Moore can stay healthy or pitch as good as he did in Texas, and maybe they just don't like Fulmer. I don't know. So they're probably going to go with those guys, and you know what? I'm not mad about that because I think they did a really good job with the bullpen. So yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up since somebody brought up that comment. But Alonso, 7 to 9 years, somewhere around $25 to $30 million, I think is fair. Hopefully get it done this offseason so we can celebrate him and being Mets for long term with Nimmo and of course Lindor. So you got your core four, put them in air quotes there. That will be nice to see for at least 5 years, 4 to 5 years. So we'll see with that. So anybody want to ask any more questions to Hayden or me? Put them in there now. Jason, the Mets are not cheaping out on the bullpen. That doesn't make sense at all. I don't see I don't see what other reliever you wanted that the Mets didn't get really, right? Robinson was the guy they should have got at the deadline. They got him now. They re-signed Ottavino, who is one of our best relievers all year. They extended Diaz. They brought in Rayleigh in a trade. I think they did a good job with the bullpen. I don't think they're cheaping out on the bullpen. Again, we don't know. It's clearly not about money with the bullpen, right? They might not like Chafin. Maybe they don't think Chafin fits well in this bullpen. Who knows? They have a reason for everything. It might not just be, it's not a good fit for whatever reason. We might think it's a good fit, but they might have their own reasons for that. Well, yeah, Optimist, exactly. There might be an injury issue or weight issue with Andrew Chafin that we don't know about. He's not a small guy. Maybe he gained weight. Maybe, I don't know. But it does seem like there's something. There is definitely something with Chafin that we don't know that is preventing him from signing from not just the Mets, anywhere. Because I think he would be a good addition to any of those teams. So it is a possibility that the Mets just don't like him. And, somebody said maybe he's asking for 3 years. I mean, I don't think he's going to get 3 years. To be honest, I mean, 2, that's as far as I would go with Chafin. I don't think I would trust any reliever. Yeah, I don't trust relievers more than, unless they're your closer like Diaz. I'm not going to give anybody a long-term deal like that. 3 years is like an 8-year deal for a position player. It's just, I don't trust those deals at all. I don't care how good the player is. Yeah. I don't trust that.
Yeah, there's really no reliever in the world that I would give a 3-year deal to. I mean, just considering how streaky relievers are, 2 is the most. Listen, your guys like Edwin Diaz and Josh Hader, and okay, there's something. But perfect example, look at Aaron Loop. Phenomenal in 2021. Magnificent. Was just garbage this year. Just goes to show you how relievers are really these, 1-year wonder type. Not necessarily 1-year wonders, but just they're streaky. They have a good year, they have a bad year. And I mean, right now, there's really no one else on the market now. I mean, besides the 2 guys we said, Andrew Chafin and Michael Fulmer. I mean, you have a couple like longer reliever guys like Aaron Richards or that's really all I could think of. I mean, it's not like they really let anyone walk that, should have not walked in terms of the reliever. I mean, you do still have Alex Reyes and Brad Hand, I believe, that are still free agents.
I think you're right. I know Reyes is still a free agent. Brad Hand didn't get pick up, right?
I don't think so. Even if I wouldn't, I mean, if everyone talks about streaky, it's Brad Hand. I'd be way too worried to bring this dude in. You don't really need him anyway, so that'd be kind of that. You don't really need him. Alex Reyes, he's one guy. I mean, I know a lot of Cardinals fans
injury prone.
Inform me he's very injury prone, which I guess is kind of the concern. I don't think he pitched at all in 2022.
If he did, it was probably only April.
Yeah, no, he didn't pitch at all. Last time he pitched was 2021. And, he had a phenomenal year then. It's not good.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, it is interesting though that I'm trying to think because like I mean if the Mets are gonna go internal, there's more than enough lefties to go around. You know, Lucchesi, Peterson are guys that are probably gonna get a good look. Like I said, Peterson and Lucchesi can be the long man and can be a guy that comes in a spot where they need a lefty. If you know really pitch 3 days in a row, you know you got Lucchesi or you got Peterson as a guy that they can do. I think they're gonna keep Peterson in the minors just to have him as one of the starters just in case for depth, along with McGill. But I do think that Lucchesi might be the guy that the Mets are going to take a big look at in spring training. That if he pitches well, there is no reason why you can't put him in a bullpen because he's funky. He's got that odd motion, and you know he don't throw hard, but he got a nasty slider, nasty curveball.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
he's just a funky pitcher, and you know that can throw people off with a couple of hard throwing guys we have in the pen. So somebody talked about in the chat just now about Sanger injury. No, he wasn't hurt. It's just that when they were going through his physical, that's why it took a little bit longer to be official. There was a report that the Mets were a little bit concerned about his physical, and that's because if you look at any pitcher's elbow that's pitched from high school and college and professionally, they're gonna have wear and tear on the elbow. I don't care. You can look at my arm, you can look at Hayden's arm. I can assure you, there's something wrong with my UCL and everything else that's involved in my elbow for sure.
Yeah,
It's more of wear and tear. Remember, before he came to Major League Baseball, he pitched in professional baseball in Japan for 10 years. So
He's 30 years old.
there's a lot of innings in there, and you know they were a little bit concerned probably of just you know the wear and tear, and you know you got to remember it's a guy coming from Japan that was looking for a decent amount of money. So the Mets had to do their due diligence with their physical. You know this is not a Correa situation where Correa's ankle is completely fucked up. You know, this is Senga that, you know, the Mets probably want to get a couple of different opinions just to make sure that Senga is just a, you know, normal wear and tear and not something that should be concerning going forward. You know, speaking of Senga, what do you think about Senga? What do you think you're expecting from him?
Yeah, I mean, it's his first year in MLB, you know, in Major League Baseball. You know, a lot of guys come over from, you know, the KBO and the Nippon League and, you know, any other league around the, you know, the world and then come to the MLB. And, you know, it's definitely an adjustment period for them, no doubt. Senga, he's 30 years old, as stated. You know, he has a good arsenal of pitches. I mean, you know, that forkball, I'm interested to see how he
Yeah,
uses that, if he
the
does at
ghost
all.
pitch.
But yeah, I mean, you know, he was an awesome, phenomenal pitcher out in Japan. I do worry, you know, you know, the MLB and, you know, the Nippon League and KBO, you know, they're all different leagues. You know, just whether it's just really just everything surrounding it is just different. The athleticism, the ball itself, is different. So, you know, I could see a world where Senga just comes in and just dominates, rookie of the year, whatever. I could easily see that. You know, a top 5, top 10 Cy Young, I could see that. But then I could also see him struggling at first a little bit. I would not be surprised if he has a couple inadequate starts or, you know, shows a little bit of, you know, kind of an inadequate performance at first, but then kind of picks up his stuff, you know, later on in the season or maybe his second year. You know, it's his first year in MLB and in New York. You know, we saw a lot of guys whose first year in New York didn't go smoothly, whether that was Lindor,
Yep.
Beltran, Piazza, whoever. So I mean, I think he'll definitely have a bit of an adjustment period. Um, no doubt about it. When it does come to one thing, though, I know everyone's talking about Peterson and the bullpen. My only concern with David Peterson, and you know, maybe this is just something that he showed off the last 2 years. It could be an issue that is fixed with, you know, working with, you know, Hefner and the pitching coaches. He walks a lot of guys, and
Correct.
I do worry that if you put him into the bullpen and he walks a lot of guys, there's less room for error. If he's a starter, he could walk 2 guys and they get a strikeout, double play, whatever. You're out of it. He's a starter. You know, I get it. Maybe Peterson could benefit from being in the bullpen because he has such a high pitch count. Or I mean, he gets a high pitch count in like 2 innings. You know, it's like he throws like 20, 30 pitches per inning, and it's just like we're in the 4th inning and he's throwing 100 pitches already, and it's just like whoa. So it's like, could he benefit from the bullpen, or does he just need to learn to dial in and start pounding the zone and, work with his command and walking batters? So if that's something that, Hefner and them could work on, I have no problem him warming up in the bullpen and, kind of like a Patrick, like a Corbin Burns and Freddie Peralta. You start him off in the bullpen and then, you release him. So, yeah, we're going to have to see what the Mets do with Peterson and McGill and Lucchesi, because those three guys they're huge contributors to this Mets team. And we saw it last year. I mean, we saw how many games Peterson came in and McGill, for the times he was around, with injury and stuff, they filled in for DeGrom for pretty much 75% of the season. They managed to win 101 games because of that. I think Peterson, I can care less for win-loss record, but I read something in it. It was a little bit more than win-loss record, but it was something around the lines of like, for every game David Peterson has pitched in as a starter, the Mets went like, it was like 10-2 or something like that. So, I mean, that just goes to show you, if you didn't have David Peterson and you had some other pitcher that the Wilpons probably would have signed up, your Corey Oswalds of the world, or Jared Eichhoffs or something of that, you would have lost all those games. So those are guys that come in, they have heart, they hustle, and they put up good numbers. So those are three guys that the Mets are really going to keep an eye on, and they could really be a huge contribution, as a starter. Don't get me wrong, players are going to get hurt. Verlander, Scherzer, they're old. Come in September, August, they may, dial back a little bit. We'll see. We saw it with Scherzer, but, and, obviously Kodai Senga, we'll see how he is. So they're going to be important roles, regardless of if they're in the rotation, if it's a doubleheader or rain delay, they have to come in and start, or just come in and start in general, or a bullpen role. They're going to be important guys.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I agree with David Peterson. He tends to walk the ballpark when he was a bullpen guy. We've seen it in late in the season as well, when he couldn't get the ball over the plate, and it affected him as well in the bullpen. I think the Mets would rather have him a starter and don't want to mess with him with the bullpen. I think they're probably, like I said, Lucchesi's going to be that guy probably that we're probably going to see as that other lefty. But yeah, I think there's a lot of ways to go. Like I said, I think somebody put it in the comment in the chat that they should give all the young players a chance to shine. There's a couple of guys that are going to the WBC where the young kids are going to get opportunities to play every day in spring training, and they're going to have it. Look, if there's a player like, say, whatever, if Mark Vientos has a Pete Alonso spring training like in 2019, where the Mets weren't sure if they were going to bring up Pete Alonso, what if Mark Vientos goes absolutely insane and bats 375 with like 10 home runs in spring training? You can't leave him in spring training. You got to bring him up. You DFA rough and say, Vientos, you are the right-handed bat for the DH. Like, there's a lot of guys that I think the Mets they're going to give the opportunities to. And when you give him those opportunities, somebody might actually shine and surprise you, and you will have no choice but to bring him up north, or at least, to Miami for opening day. So it's going to be very interesting. Like I said, the Mets have a lot of interesting choices to make, because, I know they gave Carrasco $14 million, but there's no reason why they're not going to give McGill and Peterson every opportunity to win that fifth spot as well, even though I don't like Carrasco in the bullpen. But I think you have to go in with an open mind with the rotation, with the bullpen, with the limited amount of spots the Mets have open. Roster-wise, there might be like 2. I think you have to be open-minded with any situation for a young kid or, a McGill and Peterson to give an opportunity to make the team, to make the 26-man roster. And I think it's smart for the Mets to do that and not just say, okay, this is your job, that's it. Because I think they did that last year, and you saw what happened. It caused problems.
Yeah.
Because when these guys got injured and you brought guys up at the wrong time, remember, Beatty got brought up because Guillermo and Escobar got hurt. They didn't have a choice. Alvarez came up when it basically was the worst possible time to bring up Francisco Alvarez in the biggest series of the year against Atlanta. You bring up Alvarez, and then you bring up Vientos late as well, when you could have used them a month prior to that, and it just put every one of these young kids in bad spots, and you were looking for them to be the savior, and they were trying too hard. You could see it. And then Beatty got hurt. So I do think that I'm really thinking that Beatty is going to be the one of those guys that are going to have a crazy spring training and make the team. And I don't know if he's going to play third base, but I damn sure he's going to have a chance to play left field and platoon with Marcana, to be honest.
Yeah, a lot of people are forgetting that, if the Mets had Cray at third, you were going to put Beatty in the outfield anyways.
Correct.
So, I really would like to see Beatty, I like Martin saying, have an impact. Will he have a big impact? We'll see. But I definitely think he could really come in and, we saw it was a small sample size last year, but he was hitting the ball really hard. I mean, he was in like the 89th percentile in max exit velocity. So he was hitting the ball hard, even on outs and ground balls. We saw, his first hit was a home run, which is pretty cool. I guess not many guys could say that. But,
cool.
As of right now, it's going to come to the point where, could Beatty be this little DH time? I mean, and then you work with him defensively because, I think Beatty still is a little, as he has some work to do defensively. I think he may be a little bit better than Escobar considering he's younger, have a little bit more athleticism than Escobar. But right now, I definitely could see Beatty having some sort of big impact for the Mets as a DH or outfielder. He's a nice hitter, gap to gap hitter, spreads the ball, sweet swing, lefty. He has some nice pop in his bat. He can give you 15, 20 home runs if you're really optimistic.
Yeah, true. It's gonna be very interesting. Like, I don't remember the last time a Mets, like every year the Mets have so many questions where you're like, oh, this guy, if this happens. I think the Mets for the roster is mostly set up, like I said, for two spots probably. And like I said, if Beatty can make this team, I think he's gonna shine because I think he's gonna. Like I said, I've been on record saying Brett Beatty is gonna be the better overall player than any other Mets prospect, even better than Francisco Alvarez. I don't think Alvarez is going to hit for average. I think Alvarez is going to be like a 230 hitter, maybe, but he's going to hit 35 home runs, which, you can deal with as a catcher, no problem.
Right.
But I think Beatty can be a 270 hitter, hit 20 to, about 20 to 25 home runs and knock in 85 RBIs. He's not, crazy good, but I think he's, you put that at third base every year, that's his production right there. And I think Beatty's gonna be our best prospect in my opinion. That's gonna show the most in the pros for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, so I think we went through every little possible detail that we can talk about. We got, I'll be seeing Hayden once again in spring training in Port St. Lucie, Orlando, wherever we're gonna be. We're gonna be everywhere, that's for sure. But we're gonna have some fun in Port St. Lucie. It's gonna be documented a lot. What we want to document. We're gonna keep some stuff out just in case. But we're definitely gonna
document. I just turned 21, so everything's okay.
Yeah, so we already know Hayden's. Look, Hayden's gonna be plastered. We know, and you know what? It's gonna be.
Don't show this to me.
Oh man. Yes, exactly. Perfect. So, and you can just home at the doors of Stetson afterwards. It'll be okay. So yeah, exactly. So it's gonna be a lot of fun in spring training.
Of course.
We're gonna do live streams. We're gonna do YouTube shorts. That's actually starting to be a big thing now. That YouTube, I swear to God, if I get another email from YouTube about doing YouTube shorts, because I literally had 14 emails.
Too. It's driving me nuts.
Holy shit. Like, because I'm monetized, they sent me 14 emails. Hey, we haven't seen any shorts from you. You're getting monetized now with shorts. Put some shorts. I'm like, can you leave me the fuck alone? What am I gonna put with shorts? You want me to like put on Mets gear and just show off or something? Like, what the hell? So like, it's interesting to think that so the live streams, I don't do you know if they're doing they're allowing people to walk around the spring training facilities again? Because I know since COVID they kind of stopped that.
No, you can.
Oh, you can.
I went last year.
You did go. Oh yeah, that's right. You said that's right.
Versus orange thing after the lockout.
Right.
Yeah, I walked around. No one, I saw the I saw Alvarez. I met him. Ronnie Mauricio, Hayden Senger. A couple other guys. Single A guys. No one, taking BP, and they were walking right past me and stuff. So
Do you know what time that was? Was that like midday or something like that? Like 1,
That
2 o'clock?
was, I want to say it started at like 1 the game, probably like 10, 11 in the morning.
Okay. I was gonna say because like with the 7-line party, like maybe a Friday, we can probably do that spring training facility thing if they have it.
Yeah, we probably could. Yeah, if they're
Because
there,
that might be
the
interesting.
players.
Yeah. If they're
Could
there,
even
yeah.
do it
Because I was thinking,
Saturday.
yeah, well, that's true too.
Show
That's
up
gonna be
early.
it's gonna be a long Friday and Saturday for sure.
Oh, it is.
It's gonna be a shit show. Oh my god, the rum buckets are gonna be flowing. I tell you that much. That's gonna be a problem. Yeah. Like when I went in 2018, the last time I did go in 2021, but that was like pandemic crap, so you couldn't really do anything, and the 7-line canceled. But like 2018 when I went in 2019, oh man, I tell you, the stuff I seen shouldn't be documented, and most of it wasn't. But
Well,
yeah,
I can say this as a, I don't know if I should say this.
yeah, why not?
Why not? No one knows where I go to school. I mean, maybe people do actually, but oh well. Yeah, I as a college student who goes to parties and events and bars, I've witnessed plenty of activity, and who wouldn't want to do it with fellow Mets fans? Like I go out with Foolies fans and Braves fans, and they don't want to talk baseball with me. Why not get drunk and talk Mets? Like, I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
what,
And then basically that's all we do. Like it's hopefully it doesn't rain because that would just suck.
yeah, that would
But
suck.
if it, like the last time I went to spring training with the 7-line, it was literally 99 degrees. It was fucking hot in spring training. It was bad, and we were on the berm. It was just bad.
Yeah.
And drinking rum buckets, drinking all types of liquor, you're sweating, you're hot.
Oh, and the heat,
you're not.
yeah, that sucks. I can.
Jesus,
I can
it was so
concur,
bad.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure how I drove from Clover Park to the hotel like plastered. Like I know I shouldn't be calling myself out like that, but it's like, come on, we've all done it. Like, let's be honest. Like, and Hayden, if you haven't, you will at some point. It's gonna be. It was just bad, but Ken, yeah, you in South Florida, relax. The nice Miami life.
South Florida.
Made me feel so bad. It's like 40 degrees in New York. It's not so bad anymore. Aaron taking Uber. Well, when you have a rental car and you can't leave it in the parking lot, you gotta drive it out. So listen, when people say, hey, you can drive better drunk, you can't. But I'm not gonna lie, my hotel was only like 5 minutes away, so it wasn't like I had to drive to like 2 hours away or something like that. So it wasn't terrible. Like, trust me, I took out time, but we do have to be careful at that bar that the 7-line is going to be the night before. They have cops in the parking lot waiting for people to get in their cars. They did that the last time I was there.
Good to
like
know.
They literally were picking people off, and they were breathalyzing and all that crazy stuff.
I just say dumb things. I don't do anything. I just say dumb shit.
Yeah, we all do, right? We might have read it, but if it's not documented, who cares, right?
No, but yeah,
just don't get canceled, all right?
Exactly. No, that's good. They have. I mean, they have that at all. I went out.
Yeah.
I went to Wrigley Field this past summer, and as soon as I walked out, I mean, you have police and law enforcement at all, major league and professional sports stadium, but they probably also do have them, not so much for the security part, but also for the the DUIs and people that are on under the influence of certain things. Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be a fun time. Rob and I are obviously going to have a blast. I'm sure we'll do streams together, and I don't know if you're vlogging it, but that'll also be cool.
I'm going to do my best to record as much as possible, even if we can't go live. We're going to record the stuff that we want to be seen. For sure.
Yeah. And I will say, for me, I mean, I do live in South Florida, but I've only been down here for November of 2020. So I've never really. I went to spring training, Clover Park in Port St. Lucie for the first time last year. So I've never had a 7-line outing event. So this will be my first. So that'll be very grand. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Oh, like I said, I forgot to tell you. And for Miami, I have an extra ticket. I'm not sure if my dad is going or not.
Okay.
So if you wanna, I know it's in March, and I know school and everything like that. But if like I said, I'll probably be. I'm not sure where I'm staying yet. Usually I'll stay in Miami. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I do. But if I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm staying in Miami. I'm not renting a car because there's no point. But
Yeah.
if I'm staying in
If
like
I can get down, I mean, I'm
yeah,
about it. If
like
I
it's
can get
yeah,
down.
like I said, if I'm gonna stay in Fort Lauderdale or West Palm Beach or something like that, like I said, if I'm driving, if I got the extra ticket, you can just come. It's a 7-line outing, 2,000 strong on opening day. So that's something that will be crazy. So I do have the extra ticket. I actually got it in my I was just checking in my ballpark app. He already sent them. Darren already sent the spring training one and the Miami one. So I'm going to every game in Miami. So I'm gonna be crazy involved in Miami. So like I said, it'll be 2 months in a row. Yeah. So I'll let you know exactly when that's gonna go down. All right, so I guess we talked about everything. Hayden, so let everybody know what you're going to be doing with your videos and what you're going to be pulling off for spring and during the season and whatever else you got to do with your channel, buddy.
Yeah, I'll drop a link to my channel if that's cool. If you guys could check me out, that'd be very much appreciated. On the road to 800 subscribers, so please subscribe. Let's get to
1,000. Get them to 1,000. Let's go.
1,000. Let's get to 1,000 by. I'm not very optimistic. I would say opening day, but I'm not very optimistic. You know what? Honestly, go for it. Heck it. Why not? There's the link. Hit it below. Hit that subscribe button. Let me know you subscribed. But yeah, otherwise, very similar to Rob. I do a lot of live streams, kind of like this, Q&A streams. I talk with everyone. Mets. Live streams, I like to go a little bit, MLB related, Phillies, Padres, Cubs, whatever. So I'll talk about all things MLB on live streams. Do a lot of videos, talking about, I don't know, news, updates, news, rumors, signings, all of that great stuff. So yeah, definitely please check me out. That would be very much appreciated. And yeah, obviously, Ralph, thank you for having me on here. As always, we'll be united together in 20-something days, 24 days just about, so that are a little less. But yeah, that'll be really fun. Looking forward to it. Season is almost here. Catcher's report in 9 days, so minimal amount of days. And then, it's going to be great. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a great season, a lot to come forward to. And hopefully I don't have to rage much. I didn't rage at all last season. So that was something unique.
Listen, it was pretty easy to not rage as much, until September came, and then we, just mad at the world.
It was kind of hard because it's in my dorm and in the houses here, I can't yell because people will call the police and campus security on me. And I don't want to deal with that. But I've definitely let out a couple F-bombs and screams, and people knocked on my door asking if I'm okay, and I was like, no, I'm just watching the Met game.
Some nice people over there. Jeez.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, they want to make sure that no one's getting murdered, which I don't blame them. But with that aside, enough about me. Yeah, it's going to be a absolutely fun year for the New York Mets. 2023 World Series champs. Book it. You could pin it.
Ooh, we got some
choice words there. Standard.
There you go.
On February 6th, Monday.
I can't wait until Philly, Brave fans, and Dodger fans see this stream. That usually pop up in the comments and probably gonna destroy Hayden on that. Comment there.
Listen, it's either gonna be one of 10 teams. So
yeah, that's true, and we're one of them. So that's always good to have. Usually we're not, right? So
that's
now we
true.
are.
That is true. But yeah,
all right, Hayden. So thank you for coming on. Mets the Hot Stuff Live. Another one that's another success. So again, I'll always have you on again. I'm assuming we're gonna do this before spring training, before I see you down there, since the lockout screwed us last year. 2021 actually, 2022. Yeah, and so that's something that we'll continue to do during the year as well. And you can always come on during games during the year as well. So Hayden, thank you for the time, and I'll speak to you after the stream is over. So everybody, have a great night. Thank you for tuning in for another Mets Hot Stuff Live. Once again, thank you to Hayden for popping on and talking Mets baseball. Everybody, have a great night. Let's go Mets. I'll see you next time, guys. Have a great night.